Hello, everybody, and welcome to the brand new YouTube channel, Royalty Talks Boxing, where it will be a podcast, but it will also be face-to-face interviews. Today's element is the first, and it is the podcast where we talk about the fighters' fight outside of boxing. First of all, can I say thank you to Andy Gill of Old Boxing Gym, Hunters Weatherby, and Forrester and Sons for supporting everything Boxing Royalty do. And as you can see, I'm delighted the first guest, the current Southern Area champion at Super Flyweight, Jack the Punk Kid Hughes. How are you doing, mate?
Good, mate. How are you?
Yes, not bad. Week out of work before it starts next week, but all good. So listen, this isn't going to be as people will see us on Let the Punk Talk. This is going to be a lot different. Like I said, the podcast is going to be more about your fights that you face outside of the squared circle, some people call it. So, mate, first of all, thank you. But let's just get straight to it, mate. Let's talk about growing up before boxing, childhood, you know, your school years. How was all that?
Well, to be honest, mate, it wasn't really that exciting. I was a bit of like a loner during my teenage years. A lot of people like to be nice and say that I was an introvert. Is it an introvert? The word I'm looking for, and not a loner. But no, I was, mate. I didn't really have many friends. I didn't really do anything. I just kind of sat in my room all day and just played PlayStation, really. So there's not really much to tell. That was what I used to do. I used to watch cartoons and play PlayStation. That was all I really did.
Was there a reason that you chose to be on your own, or was you just happy with your own company?
Oh, I mean, probably there was I had anxiety. That might have been a bit of a reason to it. But at the same time, I was kind of just happy doing what I was doing. I didn't really have much interest and much hobbies, and that was my hobby, was just gaming, and my other hobby was just watching TV. I used to watch so much TV, like programs, everything, but now I can't even really stay focused. I don't know how I used to do it, mate. I used to have series, and I just used to batter series after series, and now I watch like one episode, I'm like, oh yeah, let's take a break, kind of thing. Like, yeah, but that was my childhood, really. Well, my teenage years, anyway.
So you touched on there about anxiety. So obviously, I know you very well now. We're friends, and it's well documented on our podcast about the struggles that you did face as a teenager. So let's talk about that. So you know, I know the story. For the people that don't, just talk to me about how bad your mental health got to at some stages.
Yeah, it was really bad. Like, there was times where I couldn't eat, and I remember there was a stage where I didn't eat for ages, and I ended up losing like a stone in weight. And at the time, I think I was like 15, 16, and I was like 6 stone. So that's like incredibly light. Uh, but I got better over time. But yeah, as I said, I couldn't eat, and then when I did start eating, I would only eat the same meal for like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, which was shepherd's pie and beans. That's all I used to eat. And then like oh mate, I've lost my train of thought where I was going with that then. Yeah, and I know I was scared to leave the house. I wouldn't go anywhere. And like if I walked outside, I'd have an anxiety attack, and because of that, I don't. That's another reason why I probably didn't have a lot of friends, because when they was all out, kind of doing whatever they were doing, partying, socializing, I was always just like, oh no, man, I'm just gonna stay home and play my game and whatever. So they was probably just a bit like, oh, Jack's a bit of a lost cause. He never wants to come out. He never wants to hang out. And so yeah, it was bad. It was quite bad at one point. I'd have anxiety, like panic attacks all the time. I just wasn't happy in general. Like, I wasn't happy in myself. Wasn't happy with life. Like, I couldn't do anything, couldn't eat anything. Like, it just weren't really a great place to be in.
It's crazy to hear that. I'm sure the people that watch this same, because you know they see you now. You turn up at York Hall in most out there clothing. Like, I'm absolutely dreading York Hall with you Friday and one. Well, not dreading what you're going to say. It's a question like, you know, when you go out with friends, it's like, oh, where are we going to go with you? It's what's Jack going to be wearing? So that is a testament to you it now shows that you don't give a shit, you know. And when people say to me, Jack the Punkhead, he's out there, I'm like, yeah, he is out there.
Mm.
But then people that constantly say that, hope they see this and they realize that. So that's a testament as to where and how far you have come. When you were going through this, did you have the support? Like, you know, you said there that your friends, they kind of left you to it. But how was your family? Were they trying to get you out of it, or was it a case you just had to do it yourself?
To be honest, man, I don't really think a lot of people knew, because I don't really like. I touched on it literally on the last interview I did. If I'm having like a bad day, I kind of just like to keep it to myself, because I don't like to spread bad energy onto people. And if I'm having a good day, then I like to let everyone know, because I like to spread good energy. So I don't really think a lot of people knew, mate. Really what I was going through, like, because as I said, I kind of kept it to myself. So I mean, I'm sure if I told people that they would have supported me, but I chose not to. I chose not to spread negative energy, and that's not necessarily a good thing. That doesn't mean like if someone's watching this and they're going through it, like, oh, you know, this guy kept it to himself and he's all right now, so I'm just going to keep it to myself. Like, you should always try and go out and seek help, and, you know, talk to people about things. It's not good to bottle up emotions, but that's something I've learned as an adult. Back then, I was a kid back then.
No, I was about to say, you know, it's a testament against yourself that you managed to go through that on yourself, because you see it a lot of the time, people that are committed suicide and they're running away because they can't hold it in. So my advice, you know, people say to me, you know, when you go to shows, you're always so happy, so positive. I said, well, look, there's been shows I haven't. You look at March, 2 nights in March, and I was anywhere near depressed, but it's a horrible moment. In terms of what you went through, you've got to talk. You can't hold it in, because you can't beat your brain. If your brain is telling you that you're down and you're not good, you need someone else's input to tell you that. And, you know, I could give you people that are close to and that are friends that have gone through it by talking. But we talk about how did you come out of that? Was it a case of where you're on your own, I'm out of it, I'm done, or did you have to work your way out of it?
Yeah, I mean, everything's like a work in progress, isn't it? You take things like, it's like baby steps a day at a time. But I think it just got to a point, and I was just like, oh, this is so shit. Like this just really isn't like living life. This isn't what life's meant to be. And then I just kind of I just kind of put myself in positions where I weren't comfortable, and I kept doing that until eventually I become comfortable in uncomfortable positions for myself. So I just, like, with anything, like if it was going outside, as I mentioned, like going outside used to give me anxiety attacks, so I'd go out. I'd go to like football games and so on, and when I was having my anxiety attacks, I just kind of sat through it, and kind of like in a way people might not like to hear it, but I just kind of manned the fuck up and just basically got on with it, like. And then eventually I kind of just got over it, and now, you know, I can go out wherever I want, I can eat whatever I want, I can do whatever I want, and I don't suffer with mental health or anxiety anymore, and I'm happy in my own skin, and I'm, yeah, just happy to be alive and be me and do what I do.
It's like us. It's you know, when you speak to me about it, like I said, I can't believe you was that person. You know, we go to shows now together, and, you know, you'll notice, and, you know, in that stage, say 10 years ago now, 13, 14 years ago, if someone would have come up to you and said, "Oh, Jack, how you doing?" and you was going through that stage, would it complete like shut off and carry on walking, or would you have held it and had the conversation?
No, I would have held I would have like spoke, but it would have been a different kind of conversation, because when you're having like anxiety, you kind of it's weird. It's weird to explain, but you just wouldn't be having the same conversation. You'd kind of just want to be. You would, even though I would have stuck it out and had the conversation in my head, I would have wanted to get away. So I would have probably maybe give like short and sweet answers, and not to be rude, but just because that was the way I was wired back then.
Just wanted rid of it, get the conversation over with, and move on. Type.
Yeah.
and now you're a stallion within the community.
Exactly.
So, mate, before you got into boxing, I want you to tell me about the first time you was either involved in a fight or you beat someone up. You enough. Remember that?
The only fight I've ever had is I just got jumped in the club years ago by like 6 people. But that was during when I was boxing. I was like, I think it was like 26. No, 27, 28 at the time. Uh, yeah, basically just two guys just come up to me and asked if I wanted some, like grabbed me and asked if I wanted some for no reason. And I just said, yeah, let's go. and then like he just like whacked me, and then I hit him back twice before he could even move, like split open his eye. Uh, then we wrestled, fell to the floor, and then I just got jumped by like 6 guys, and that was it really. It was kind of short and sweet, and like I got the security come and pulled them off, and then that was it. Like, I'm not really a violent person. I don't really like. I don't really look for trouble. If trouble comes my way, I know I can handle myself. So I've never really, yeah, I've been quite lucky when it comes to like fights on the street and stuff. That was it. That was the only one I had.
No, it's mad because you would think that the boxers and the all the fighters in this world, whether it's MMA, whatever they are, they would be the people in the nightclubs. I've known people in the past when I was a kid going out clubbing at 18. I'm a boxer, let's go. And now you see the professionals that don't want any aspect of it. You do enough of it in the gym. But mate, there's too many mugs about nowadays. So I was at Tolworth the other week. Some blokes tried bottling me for absolutely no reason whatsoever. And fortunately, bad people in this world.
Yeah.
But we move on now to say, you started boxing. You spoke about it when you won the title, and you got quite emotional about it. You've always been written off in your life, haven't you? No matter what you've done.
Yeah.
So talk to us about, when it got to the boxing day, when you was in these gyms and people were writing it off. What was said? How was you handling it?
Yeah, like, it was a bit weird. Like I started boxing at Rice District Boxing Club. I started at 16 and had years off because of anxiety. When I was 18, I had years off in anxiety. Got back into it at 23, back at Rice Lit. And I was like the leader of the gym there. I got voted captain of the club. I was looked at. I had a lot of respect for everyone there. Like, I mean, everyone had a lot of respect for me there. The trainers, the fighters, and so on. And then when I turned pro, it was kind of like the complete opposite. This is the whole like 360. No one, like, I was kind of looked down upon as the shit one, and no one had a lot of respect or any time for me. Uh, like trainers didn't want to train me, and that was what it was like. And I'd be turning up to the gym, and all the pros would be doing their sessions, and I would have to wait an hour or two until they were finished, and then I would go on and I would train by myself, like alone. I was a bit of like a lone wolf, which I've got tattooed on my neck. I don't know if it's that side or this side, but I've got lone wolf on my neck, and that was the reason as to why that tattoo come about. And and it was like that for a very long time. And that people would say stuff all the time, like that people. I'm not going to mention any names, but people said to Barry, they well, apart from Barry, because Barry's not wasn't one of their when it wasn't one of the haters, but like people said to Barry that, oh, if you train Jack, people will look at you and think that you'll train anyone. And like luckily enough, Barry didn't listen to them. Like Barry's his own man, and he gave me the opportunity, to be a pro and kind of like live my dream. And yeah, like people would say that. People would always say I was shit, no good, and like they just never really had any time or respect for me. They never wanted to help me out when I asked for help. And then when I stopped asking for help, they would always be like, "Oh, I'm just trying to help you. I'm just trying to help you," by saying like bullshit to me. And it was just kind of like, "Oh well, when I wanted your help, you didn't want to help me, and now I don't want your help. You're trying to give me help that's not wanted, even though they weren't trying to help me anyway." And then there were other top coaches that called Barry yet again and said, "Oh, this kid shouldn't be anywhere near a boxing ring, and so on and so forth. And Barry kind of me and Barry have a weird relationship over the years, but now we've turned out to be quite good friends. But he always kind of had my back when people slagged me off to him, which I kind of always admired him for. Like he did show loyalty to me. So yeah, like, you know, respect to Barry, and we're good friends now. And I didn't really find anyone that really wanted to really help me until I met Rob Lloyd Taylor. Started training with him, but the only thing with me and Rob, my shift patterns didn't match his shift patterns. So even though he wanted to help me and wanted me to be better, we just didn't link up as well as I would have liked, and I'm sure as well as he would have liked. But I think even then in that gym, I don't even know. I don't even think the boys rated me very highly. But the thing about me is that, like, I am a work, as you know yourself, I am a workhorse. And not only am I a workhorse, I believe that I've got talent, but I just never had the time. Well, people never gave me the time to improve. Like they never sat me down and wanted to teach me new things. So I never had the chance to ever get any better than I was. I just kind of stayed at like a level, like that level, for a long time, until I obviously met Kieran, who's my coach now. And Kieran was the first person where me and his schedules linked, and he really wanted, you know, the best for me. And he was the one, when I met him, I think kind of my career, it didn't just change, but it was really where my career actually begun, really, because, well, I was that raw novice when I first walked into State of Mind. I kind of stayed that raw novice for a long time, and I kept making the same mistakes and falling into the same patterns and routines because I was just training myself. And there's only so far you can get when you're training yourself. You know, I mean, I say I'm not a coach. I am a coach now, but back then I wasn't. I was just like a young, kind of naive lad, and no one wanted to help me or wanted to see me improve or really wanted to see me achieve anything until I met, as I just said, Kieran. And then, you know, when I was around Kieran and his team, that's when my career started to kind of fall into place.
It's crazy, you know. I can't see how. Dave Coldwell said something the other day on the podcast, and he said, you know, if you make eye contact with someone, just be nice, just say hello. If they don't say hello back, you know you've been good enough. You know, you talk about these people in the gyms, and I know who these people are, and it just makes me laugh because I spoke to some of these people, and you don't see that side to them.
Mm.
Jack, when you won that Southern Area title, did any of them reach out to you, or was it for you just to don't reach out to me? Here's my middle finger, jog on.
Yeah, to be fair, some of them did. Some of them that I like even kind of fell out with, come into my change room and, you know, shook my hand and said, well done, like, happy for you, and so on and so forth, which was nice in a way, because it's funny, because obviously when I was younger, like, I just wanted their respect so much, and like I was doing everything I could to get it. But again, that's just me being young and naive. But me, it was kind of nice that in the end, I did kind of get their respect. And even though I don't really care if I got it now, or if I had it or didn't have it. But it was kind of nice. Like, I think like the little kind of, well, I was a man back then, but I was a little man. Like, the little man in me was like, oh, we got there in the end, that kind of thing. So it was nice that I got it. I mean, not every single one of them reached out. Obviously, some of them are probably bitter at the fact that I've done it and somewhat achieved more than them or achieved the same as them, and they're probably bitter about that. But who really cares at the end? I mean, in the end of the day, they was wrong and I was right. So who cares?
Yeah, it must be a great feeling for you, you know, when it all sunk in, to just think back and see their name pop up on Instagram or whatever, and you must think, oh, I wonder what he's fucking thinking now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you mentioned Kieran, mate, and honestly, I can vouch for Kieran and as well as Tony Peel, two of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. I know you've told me again the story about how you met Kieran, but it was luck, wasn't it, during lockdown?
Yeah, mate, literally luck. Like it was the whole story was I messaged Casey Kadimi about sparring, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I'd love to get some rounds in with you." And I was like, "Yeah, mate, so would I, but my gym hasn't been open due to lockdown, so I haven't been training. So I was like, I could probably only give you 4 rounds." And he was like, "Oh, mate, I'm getting ready for a title fight. 4 rounds isn't really what I'm looking for. I'd need a." He was like, "I'd need at least 6, but ideally, I'd need like 8 or 10." And I was just like, "Oh, mate, I don't want to come over and tell you I'm going to give you 6, and then having to jump out after like 4 or whatever." And he was just like, "No worries, man. We'll meet again soon." And then I was meant to actually be going down someone else's gym, and they actually let me down. And Casey messaged me saying, "Oh, mate, I actually, I can't find anyone. If you're still free, I'll take the 4 rounds." And I was like, "Yeah, mate, I'll come down." And Casey was trained by John Tandy at the time, but John Tandy wasn't there. I don't know why. And it was actually Kieran Duffy that was taking the sparring. And so yeah, for the first like round, I made a real good account of myself, and then stamina and so on got in the way, and I was kind of taking a beating, but giving back what I could and just hanging in there. And so then Kieran was like, "Oh, listen, mate, I can see you're fading. You've given us 3 good rounds. Just jump out, mate." So I jumped out, went on the bag, did my own thing, and then afterwards, me and Kieran were just speaking, and he was like, "Mate, you've got the heart of a lion. Like, I just really respected what you did. So, like, you come down here, you weren't fit, you jumped in with someone that was ranked 15 in the world at the time, but a WBO, I think, and you just made such a good account of yourself. Like, you've got like," and he was asking, he was like, "Are you Irish? Because you got Irish balls." And I was like, "Yeah, mate, I am." And then we got talking about that, and then when I went home, my trainer at the time texted me not long after saying that he couldn't work with me anymore, and that's when I put out, "I'm looking for a new coach." And John Tandy, Casey's trainer, got in contact with me through Facebook saying, "Mate, Kieran Duffy would love to train you because he just loved what he saw." And then that's the rest was history. That's how me and Kieran ended up meeting.
Absolutely mental, isn't it? Because you could see him. We had the photo shoot Saturday, and especially when Tom Brennan and Jack got in the ring, he had never met them, And I was listening to talk to Tom, and he was telling just how good he looked in shape 3 weeks out. A lot of
Yeah.
training wouldn't even do a photo shoot or anything like other people's fighters, And look, I can't comment because I didn't know you before you met Kieran, but the man, the fighter that you've become since being down with Kieran is just a testament. And it's not just the boxing side that you got with Kieran, the friendship you've got. You were at his wedding. He was he was obviously part of your celebrations. He's your +1 for your awards for the title fight. Not just a trainer.
Oh yeah, mate. No way. Like, he's a very good friend of mine now. Like, he always checks up on me just to see if I'm okay. Like, text, call, and whatever when I'm training, when I'm not training. And he always wants the best for me in and outside the ring. Like, he's always wants me to push on to do my like level 2 and 3 to become like a PT, and because he thinks it would be a good job for me, and he wants me to make good money. And a lot of PTs, if you're good at it, you make good money, and that's what he wants for me. And he's always nagging me to do that. He always wanted me to be a coach afterwards because he just thought everything that I've done and been through. He's like, "I think you'd make a great coach." And then when I send him videos of me coaching, he's proud of me, and he's like, "Oh, mate, you're doing great. You're gonna be you're gonna be one of the top coaches in the world one day," and all that stuff. So yeah, he's much more than just a coach. He's a very good friend of mine. He wants the best for me, and I want the best for him.
Yeah, I mean, I can honestly say, up to your last fight, he was an acquaintance type thing for me. He was a friend of you, so I'd only, you know, he come down to the photo shoot. He spent his Saturday afternoon in a gym for me, and I consider him a friend as well. If I rung him up, I've made a big decision, which is it's not known, but that'll be another story. And he was one of the people that I texted and said, "Kieran, can you call me? I need some advice." And it was 8 o'clock on a Monday night, and he sat on the phone with me for half an hour telling me about why I should do what I'm doing. So just an all-round genuine nice guy. We talk about Kieran. I wanna just quickly speak about your last fight. Not the fight, the build-up. Bit of struggle, so you say. There was a lot of mental struggle in camp, wasn't it? Just what happened there?
Just don't know, mate. It was just kind of like, I think at times I put a lot of pressure on myself because I kept telling Terry all the time, like, oh, if I never win this title, I just can't die happy. Like, I can't die a happy man. So I think because I think if I never won it, I would have proved everyone right, and that it would have ate away at me for years and years and years. And because I was because I was falling more out of love with boxing, probably every training camp, the training camps were becoming more of a chore than something that I used to enjoy and love. And I don't think that helped either. And then I think it's just kind of like old demons just come back around. They just surfaced up, and it just wasn't an enjoyable time for me at all, mate. Like, I was just angry and I was mad all the time. I was upset all the time. I was just snapping out. I couldn't enjoy my food, which is what I love. I was trying to take my mind off things by watching TV shows and playing games, and they were annoying me. And then I was turning them off, and I was pacing around the house for hours on end, and just mate, it was just a horrible horrible time. Like, probably in the 6 years of being a pro, it was probably the worst period of my 6 years. Like, it was just horrible, mate. Um, like, my anxiety was getting bad again. It took me even after a while after camp. It took me kind of a while to get over it. I was still having panic attacks, like, on like randomly, and like, yeah, I just worked myself even after training camp for a while. It took a while for me to get back to being me. But again, I'm back again. I'm back to being happy and chilled and so on. But it was a horrible time, mate. It really was.
Like I say, I can vouch a lot of time with you in that camp. I never said anything at the time, but there was times in that camp, and it wasn't when you was in the gym. Because as I always said, when you was in the gym, you looked the best you'd ever looked. And little did I know you wasn't giving 100%. But it was when I was with you at yours. There was a time when I was down watching Jamie Smith spar, and I come back to yours, and you'd just come back from the gym, and you was just laying on the sofa. And I thought to myself, this kid ain't gonna fight. I thought you ain't gonna make the fight. It was just doing so much to you. You could see it. And I don't know if you remember, I said to you when you were laying on the sofa, I just kind of put my arm on you and I just said, look, Jack, don't fucking feel no pressure in this fight. Because I could see you did. There were so many people from that first fight that said, you should bash Paul Roberts. You are going to bash Paul Roberts. Then you're going to get an English. Then you're going to get a British. And, you said to me, I don't feel no pressure. I said, listen, nobody is going to be with you when you lose that belt, apart from the people close to you. Nobody is going to be with you when you win that belt, because we'll all be there on the night. But there was a time I spoke to Terry during camp. I think you actually told me this. I don't know, with Terry, where you was training, and you said to me, you done 3 or 4 rounds padding or whatever it was, and you just stopped. And Kieran pulled you to the side, then he took you outside and he had a conversation. What was he saying to you there?
It's kind of hard to remember everything he said, but he was just basically, he obviously knew I wasn't myself. He kind of said what you said, that you don't need to feel no pressure, mate. You've already proved everyone wrong by like how far you've come, and so on and so forth. And he was telling me about the times when he was a fighter and what the stuff that he had to go through, and he was like, I've been there myself, mate, so I know what you're going through. It's not like you're going through this alone, and so on and so forth. Off the top of my head, that's all I can really remember him saying. It just wasn't something that at the time it was important, but obviously now that all said and done, it's not. So it's kind of just gone out of my head. But yeah, that's all I can remember, really, mate.
It's just crazy. And obviously, like I say, people are going to not read this, listen to this, watch this, and they're going to be shocked to hear. Because, there's so many boxers that it affects. There's a fighter that we both know right now doesn't even want to set foot in the ring, and he's coming off of a high. And then you've got fighters that win 8, 9, 10 fights in a row and then lose a fight badly, and it affects them. But it's rare that people will get to hear this story. And this is what I want to do with this: is see, as I've labelled it, the fighters fight outside of the fight. That's a lot of fighting in one sentence, but I think it's. But listen, Jack, obviously, I appreciate your honesty there, mate. It's going to be a great listen for everyone else. Just finally, let's talk about life after boxing. You've got your last fight, November the 12th. Camp start. You're in your go. When you step out of that ring on November 12th, what's your plans on November the 13th going forward?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I've started coaching now down at Amersham Evolve Elite Gym with Andy Gill. I'm kind of going to be like his second, and I've been helping out a lot of the fighters there, like the Fringpongs, Jamie Smith and Brandon Webb. I've been training all them guys, so that's going to be kind of like the next stage of my career in boxing. So I'm still going to be involved in boxing, and then there's other things that I want to do, like obviously like most men and women, like I want to start a family and so on, and hopefully that will happen soon for me, and me and my fiance. And then there's just other things that I've always wanted to do that I think I might. Sorry, someone just sent me a funny text message. It's just come through on my phone. There's something I've always wanted to do, but whether I ever do it or not, I don't know. But I would love to do it. I'd love to be involved in like pro wrestling for a bit. I've always wanted to do it, and I've actually found the way into it finally, but I haven't taken any steps as to actually do it yet, because it is kind of an ego thing for me, because I've performed in such like a prestigious venue like York Hall now, and in front of so many people. Like I think York Hall holds like 1,200, 1,500, and I've been in front of there like a packed York Hall on multiple occasions now. Just going to like the pro wrestling and starting off in the small hall pro wrestling, there only probably be like literally 100 people or not even that watching, and it doesn't really get me up, like it doesn't get me going like, oh yeah, that's exciting to do that. But at the same time, I know sometimes starting from the bottom isn't that prestigious, and yeah, I want to do it, but whether I ever will make the jump to do it or not is another question. But I guess, if you stay tuned, you'll find out if I ever take the plunge and go into it or not.
Well, definitely. So you've got the character, you've got the personality to do it, you've got the dress sense to do it. You could be the next, I don't know, Eddie Guerrero, maybe. Hopefully not end up like.
Yeah.
Cool. But mate, that's everything for me on your fight. Just last, any thank yous from you? Any people you want to give a special mention to now you've got the chance?
Yeah, the same four that I always mention. You mentioned two of them at the start: Rod and Justin, Forrestal and Sons, and Hunters. What is it? Hunters Weatherby.
Weatherby, yeah.
Yeah. I should really know that, seeing as they sponsor me. Them two guys, like great guys. Then I got Guy Davison from Hilton Grove Hotel sponsored me, and my friend Steve from Crown building company who sponsored me as well. Them three guys have been amazing. Obviously my team, Kieran, Tony, Ricardo and Ian, they just, I couldn't really imagine ever walking out with anyone different now after I've walked out with them 2 or 3 times now. Obviously my girlfriend Terry, who's an angel when I'm in camp, and she puts up with all my shit. So yeah, off the top of my head. Oh, and I guess I've got to thank Andy Gill as well for giving me the opportunity to come down and work with his fighters, and get my coaching license under him, and so on and so forth. And yeah, mate, I think that's everyone.
Bang on, mate. Couldn't have said it better. Like I say, you've got a great bunch of sponsors. You've got a great team. And let's just look forward now to November the 12th. Get that one out of the way. And then move forward with the coaching career. I'm not going to be following you around fucking gyms when you're coaching, though, mate. I'm just going to give you that one now. That will not be happening. I'll do it for November the 12th, but it's not happening when you're a coach. But like I said, mate, honestly, thank you for your honesty. It's going to be a real eye opener for people. One, are either struggling, or two, don't see what people do have to go through. You know, a lot of people just see boxers, they get paid thousands of pounds and they go and they get punched in the face for 6, 8, 10 rounds, 12 rounds, and they don't realise what goes on behind the scene unless you're involved in it. So, yeah, I appreciate your honesty, and yeah, we'll definitely get you back on here after the fight to do a post-fight review. Definitely.
No worries, mate. Anytime.
Well, that's the first one done. Royalty Talks Boxing. Once again, thank you to Jack, and we shall see you all very soon.